it gets further delayed because now you are incorporating this new thing. So the addressing the scheduled risk in a way addresses the scope risk as well. The other one is the order inflow from the government. Earlier this was an issue, even today it is to some extent because the order doesn't come in on long. Luckily for us again, the new procedure, the DAP 2020, asks for a minimum order quantity to be specified when the award of contract takes place. So in the case of IMRS, for example, the ministry will specify whether it is for 100 helicopters or 300 or 400. So the guarantee of the minimum order quantity from the government allows HAL to return seek partnership from the industry based on that same MOQ. Of course, any other product demand that comes up, for example, from the export of these platforms, will become bonus for the participants because your original IRR calculation and business model will be dependent on this initial order quantity, and so whatever comes later will become a bonus. And also, in the business model, we have to exclude the MRO part, although in the long run, that is a very profitable part of the business. But to address the risk of this engagement, it is better that we don't reckon the revenues from the MRO, so that the revenues from the MRO becomes a buffer in your financial risk. Because as I explained, that the project in the new DAP 2020 enables this kind of a partnership. In the next slide, I will explain the kind of model that specifically we have in mind. Next slide. So, taking the IMRH, that is the Indian multi-role helicopter, which is a 13-ton weight class helicopter. This is supposed to replace the Mi-17 helicopters that are being used today for all medium lift requirements of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. See, if you have seen our expression of interest, the demand projected for IMRH, including the Army, Air Force, and the Indian Navy requirement, was around 419. But in my illustrative example, I have taken only the Air Force and Army variant of the IMRH, because the naval variant is only 66 in numbers. I don't think 66 helicopters can make a business model for private sector investment in the NRCO. Now, coming to the scope of work, which the vendor is supposed to handle. One is the design itself, which means HAL will give you the numerical marker geometry of the helicopter and where the primary bulkheads and frames and other support structures are there located. So the geometry of the helicopter will be shared with the vendor. And then based on that, the vendor has to develop the detailed drawing. So you can imagine that now from purely a build to print, you are actually entering into the build to spec category. So the vendor is responsible for making the design of detailed parts. So a minimum of 5,000 components, external components will be involved in the airframe of this helicopter. So at a minimum you need 5,000 drawings plus the sub-assembly drawings and the major assembly drawings. And of course the installation drawings for all the equipment that go into the. Now any vendor who has supplied major assemblies of any other aircraft to major OEMs like Boeing or Airbus or anyone else will be able to make this transformation from purely manufacturing to making the design. We have had some preliminary discussions with L&T and Tata Advanced Systems. So all of them have the engineering capabilities to take up this kind of work. Now, after the drawings are made, of course, there is a stress analysis, fatigue analysis, and dynamic analysis of the parts. In this, of course, many of the vendors may not be experienced, but the software tools required for this analysis are commercially available, and HAL can do some hand-holding as far as this is concerned. And and as HL is primarily responsible for the certification and safety of flight of the aircraft, the analysis part of the design is of course HL's primary responsibility. Therefore, HL engineers will also supervise the work done by the vendors. Now, once the drawings are made and the analysis is completed, the next is of course making the full design for realizing those parts. Now, for metallic parts, now with all the NCGs and all, the cooling requirements are very minimal, but for sheet metal parts which are very minimal in this helicopter, especially, the coolings are required. But for composite parts, of course, every part requires a tool which involves a positive tool, which is a master model, because the negative tool is always the final layer is done in the parts. So this is an area where again only a limited number of vendors in India have the facility, that is composites manufacturing. We need an autoclave and we have a controlled environment. You need cold storages, etc. So there is some, if you don't have these facilities, you need some investment in those. And then the realization of the parts, actually making these composites. And then based on the sub-assembly drawings, making the sub-assemblies and then making the final assembly of this component. In the ideal situation, what we expect is that the vendor who takes up this as a tier 1 will do this entire set of things and HL will receive the completed airframe from such a vendor and then the payment, etc. Something at a philosophical level, one thing, but to have a solid business model is one thing. So just for illustration purpose, I have listed here like what are the outlays. Again, this I do not know. On the one hand, you will have an inflation for which there is an annual escalation which is required. So that means the selling price will have to increase to compensate for the inflation. At the same time, there is a learning curve effect due to which the man hours required for production keep decreasing. So you have balance of these two, a combination of a which is what Boeing and Airbus follow in their vendor base. But even if that reduction over time doesn't take place, you will be able to supply this airframe at a constant price for the production period, which is around, I think, 12 years or 13 years. So it's a workable model, and HAL also has to do a lot of homework to initially develop the cost estimates for these airplanes, and then maybe give it as a target. And in any case, the process forward will be a two-stage tendering, which is already there in HAL's purchase procedure. Two-stage means in the initial stage, we will invite vendors who are ready to make this investment and also take up the design work, which was never done before. And once these partners come forward, HAL will do some due diligence. HAL will make some presentation about what is the exact scope of work. More and more information will be shared with these selected vendors. At the end of the stage one of tendering, we will shortlist maybe 2 or 3 vendors who will go to the next stage. So in the second stage, we will solicit commercial offers from the same shortlisted vendors, and then of course the lowest cost bidder will become the L1 selected vendor. But that doesn't prevent the other companies from acting as supporting the main vendor or becoming clear to what is the main vendor. So, although the participation will be channelized through one vendor selected through this process, it doesn't deny the wider participation from the industry in this process. The only difference is that we are changing the model. We are exploring this now. I think personally, based on my 30 plus years of experience in HAL, that this is the way to shorten the time frame of projects and also offer meaningful work share to the Indian industry. Just sourcing some components is not the way to involve the vendor base. Unless you try to do new things, the process of learning will never happen. And unless you are challenged out of the comfort zones, the vendor development really doesn't take place. So within maybe a matter of few months, we will come out with one proposal in this regard. And I also request
That if there are no common questions, maybe over the lunch you will ask the counter question. Please go ahead with the first question.
I must congratulate HAL for offering this opportunity to the private industry.
कैमरा चेंज कर दो.
Yes, I think which is really, really great. Only few countries in the world have this capability to design and manufacture. But at the same time, I would also like to know what prompted you to completely trust the Indian industry, which is not mature. Main contribution of the Indian industry was the manufacturing of the vehicles. So that's all my question was. Thank you very much. You must remember that we are only asking the industry to design the airframe. The design of the helicopter is not designing of the airframe. Airframe is only for the designer, the rotor of the helicopter is the only thing that is required because that is what makes the helicopter to fly. Everything else, as to the rotor, is not liked by the designer, but we still have a cabin in which the passengers are to be carried. So the main airframe of the helicopter is what we are offering for design. Whereas the critical things like the rotor design, the transmission design, the design of the entire electronics, the weapon system integration, all these critical things will still be done by HA.
माइक की आवाज देख लेना
What's your plans are? How much interest you will be making
क्या करता है
final assembly and checkout of the IMR helicopter will of course happen from the Tumkur plant. Currently, the LUH production parallelly has moved to the Tumkur to a very small extent. Of course, it will progressively increase when the next order comes in. So, in the end, given the volumes of production which HL has to handle, we found that the Bangalore facilities are not adequate. That's why we approached Kannada government and we got the into 600 plus acres allotted to us, where the factory will be built in 4 phases. We have completed phase 1 and phase 2. Now the phase 3 and 4 will happen. So many of the activities of the IMRH, including the production of its engine, will get done from and area available is very large. Therefore, it may even be possible for some kind of insourcing, where HCL can open the premises and the vendor can operate from within our campus itself. The possibilities are there. Plus, it is an industry 4 compliant factory that we are building there. And most of the areas, SKH and LUS production, plus the IMR production will all shift to improve progressively over maybe next 8 to 10 years. Thank you very much for the patient here.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we have a partner who was covering commercial India, Lockheed Martin. He will present. He is the commercial lead and head of industrial development also and responsible for vendor management, contract and offset management.
Good morning, everyone. I saw the expression in Jyoti's face as well as Mamta, so I'll be fast. I put the timer on. So, good morning, everyone. Honorable Minister Shri Rajvardhan Singh Ji and dignitaries on dais and off dais. I mean, hats off to CII. You want something? Thanks. So, hats off to CII to bring, HAL, Boeing, Lockheed, and Airbus together in one stage. I have to say, Jyoti, you really have the power, and that too, the Honorable Minister here for the last 2 days. Amazing. I've never seen that. So quickly, I'll go through our work, and then we can talk about later during the lunch how we can take that forward. If you see this slide on the right, I'm not wearing my specs. I'll keep referring back. No problem in my neck. I cannot see that. So I'll refer it from here. So bear with me. So this, whatever you see in this particular picture, is view of our platform. And
I must say that each one of them is state of art. A lot of technical details in each one of them, and that means huge scope for each one of suppliers to come and join hands with us. We are most welcome to do that. So, just a little bit about Lockheed. I spoke yesterday, continuing the story, 116,000 employees. Here, the 60,000 engineers I mentioned yesterday. Very, very important. Lot of these engineers are Indians. Lot of them. Sometimes, when I go to the US, I still feel that I'm in India. These are the 4 branches we have: Aero, RMS, MFC, and Space. No stringent laws that you cannot join any one of them. You can contribute from your side in any one of them. Whatever I speak, beyond that, I think Google is much better option to go and search for anything that you want. Much, much better. So please go to Google, search for the platform, search what you can, come to me, say that I can do this. I'll help you coordinate with my supply chain team. If both of us cannot, we'll go to Mantriji. Don't worry, he promised it yesterday. This is our international locations. I mentioned you earlier. Somebody asked me a question in Africa, okay, an African guy, and asked me, hey, why don't you have something in Africa? So I will answer that during the lunchtime. So 30 years of partnership in India, still going strong. 70 plus suppliers already. We have mapped out 400 plus suppliers for us, waiting for Government of India to give us the platforms that we can produce here. I promise we'll engage each one of them. Already earmarked, already we know their capabilities. We are going to each one of them to see what kind of work we can give it to them. This is the Make in India contribution you have. And this is what we have created with Tata till now. You can see the assembly line. That assembly line is India, not in US. So, Honorable Minister Ji, that particular assembly line is as good as any US assembly line worldwide. And I think rest of my foreign OEMs can vouch for that. This was a cornfield, what we have done. The FDI numbers are not big, but what is the kind of effect, kind of ecosystem that we have built is very, very important. 65% of the money that we give to Tata's goes to the MSME and the tier 1s. 65%. They are not the ones who are going. There was a recent report on by the AGs that, hey, on offsets, on supply chain, all that money is going to 15 major companies. Wrong. Those major companies where we are placing the order is because ease of documentation or ease of, I should say, giving the supply chain, but those guys are also involving number of SMEs and MSMEs, and I'll encourage people to reach out to our tier 1s. Lot of steel manufacturing, lot of material people, lot of engine parts people come to us as Lockheed and say that can I become your supplier? Again, refer Google. Please see that we are assembler. Those things are made by our tier 1s. Nothing wrong coming to me because I'm going to refer you back to our tier 1s. And they are the ones who is going to take it from you. So it's a whole ecosystem, that not that Lockheed only takes it. Yes, something we take it directly, something through our tier 1, something through our tier 2s, even further. And the master of it is Ashwini right here, sitting right in front of me, looking with hawk eyes. Now here is the Tata Lockheed Martin Aerostructure TML timeline. This is something what I yesterday heard, that there is some motivation required. If you remember, she was speaking about women in aviation, but she also spoke about what examples we can give. So these are the key milestones that we had, and I'm very, very proud of each one of them. And if you see, this is not a milestone that is for Lockheed, it is for India, and we all must be proud of it. So presently, the slide doesn't cover only one thing, the 200 empennage that we have already supplied. The capabilities, all of them are listed here. That we have already given it to the Tatas. They are already holding it, not from us only, from other OEM as well. Each one of these capabilities will boost up the Indian ecosystem going further. We will be going where I think HAL wants us to go. Though we are like becoming a competitor, making a competitor for you, sorry, but we are ensuring that the private industry has equal amount of capability for all of that. In this metal-to-metal bonding, the cold walking, and I think the non-destructive testing, or these are a few things that only maybe few facilities or very niche facilities in India will have it. Not much of them have this. This is the metal-to-metal bonding facility. I don't want to get into the details. The autoclave is there. So when we started and where we are now, you can see the demand. So the country has the demand for this kind of work, and we are building it up. And we are building it up, and I feel it is more economical to build it up with all of our partners and the suppliers, because if you build it up, the cost is less for us, and you will be more efficient, much more, I should say, proficient in working that, and because that's the only job you will be doing. So that's the greater model we are thinking of, and we are thinking of to engaging all of you to be supporting us in all of our platforms. This is the Tata Sikorsky Aerostructure Limited. These are making the precision parts. Again, few milestones, 2009 to 2016. Quite evident in the slides. You can see what we have achieved. And it is not, again, our achievement, again, India achievement, again, it is a supplier achievement that we have. This is the capabilities of Tata Sikorsky. I'll skip this slide. We all understand, we have been speaking the designing, from anything from design, starting from designing to the final product. We are all going through that journey every day. This is the empennage prototype parts, and now the empennage going ahead. One thing I must say about the empennage, during COVID, our empennage got stuck. It's a huge truck that goes from here, from Hyderabad to the port in Mumbai, Nhava Sheva, and customs was working in 5% capacity. I called up the government. 2 days our shipment was cleared, and it was on its way to Marietta in US. So hats off to the government who has taken this work very, very seriously nowadays. They support us, and I'm sure Boeing during COVID times, Airbus during COVID times had seen how the government and the state governments were very serious about supporting the aerospace industry. That's the loading of the empennage. I think that's one of the pictures there. This is the bulk fuel tank, continuing the story yesterday. This is the bulk fuel tank which has the IP from India, so absolutely an Indian-made product. We also have another Indian-made product example, which I don't have a picture right now. It's the Ashok Leyland light specialist vehicles. So you have seen Mahindra winning the army order, but maybe seldom people know that Air Force also took out a LSV order, which has won by the Ashok Leyland one. That's 100% Lockheed Martin technology, 100% transferred to Ashok Leyland, and Ashok Leyland is made 100% indigenous Indian product, even from the engine to the back glass mirrors to the tires to everything. So maybe sometimes I can show the picture of that. Skilling India is always on the focus. Knowingly, unknowingly, we have been skilling. I'll request that the skill that we transfer may please be recognized. The recognition will only help us, what we saw yesterday, that yet it will help us to motivate. Hundreds and hundreds of companies are being skilled here by Boeing, by Airbus, by us. Our engineers are traveling all the way from US. So I'll request Honorable Minister to take care and see how the skilling part of it can be rewarded back also to FAM. That will motivate us to do more and more skilling in this country, especially for aerospace. That's all from my side. I hope I have covered a little bit, and definitely I'll be open for any questions that you have. So any questions for me? I think they're all scared of you now, Jyoti. Bye.
No, you did well. So now we have the last presentation of the day, and Mr. Gaurav Gautam, the Head of Procurement and Operations and Supply Development for Airbus India and South Asia, will be here. And he's responsible also for fostering collaboration between Airbus global teams and local Indian partners. Mr. Gautam.
Can I have the presentation, please? Meanwhile, good morning, everyone, Honorable Minister and distinguished guest. and industry representatives. Indeed, it is a great pleasure for me to be here and have the opportunity to share my engagement within the India supply chain. I will try to cover some portions where questions were around, and feel free to ask me towards the end of the presentation if you have any. I'll be happy to take that. So in next 20 minutes, I would like to talk a bit about Airbus as a group, and then how to become Airbus supplier. I think this is something interesting topic for you. And then I would like to deep dive into a bit regarding procurement operations activities in the region, and how do we engage with our suppliers. Here you will get a perspective, what do we expect from the supply chain. Partly had been covered from other OEM colleagues, but specific to Airbus, you will get some insight how you can prepare for it. Then I would like to get into C295 program, but as an example, how we are contributing significantly to the growth of ecosystem of India in aerospace, and it will give you a perspective and also opportunities where you can explore. How Airbus and other OEMs, I'm sure, are facing similar challenges, so I'd like to talk about that, and then how India can create a value proposition to those challenges to the aerospace will be interesting to discuss. Then I would like to end the presentation with a video which will give you a glimpse how we encourage, how we acknowledge the contribution made by our suppliers from India. So we are global leader in aeronautics, space and related services with a workforce over 134,000, and last year, financial year, we have concluded with 59 billion euros. We have sold over 23,000 aircrafts and counting. We have a loyal customer base of over 400, and we have already delivered more than 15,000 aircrafts. This one slide, when we talk about supply chain, I can say to have a backlog is really nice. We are 8,000 and more and counting, and here the commitment of our supply chain from India plays an instrumental role. If they are on time, if they are on quality, it enables us to deliver the aircraft on time and on quality to our customers. Safety is the foundation of the business, what we do. We bring safety to work every day, and that's where our enforcement within the supply chain is also to ensure whatever we do, we have to keep safety at first. All efforts goes in to prevent incidents and accidents, and in case we have any unfavorable situations, we would like to take a lessons learned out of it and horizontally deploy so that we cannot have any such misses in time to come. Likewise, compliance and ethics are at the core of the business what we do. We do business with integrity. And in order to ensure robust compliance program, we have highest international standards within the organization. There are code of conducts which we respect and we want to deploy within our supply chain, and you will see in subsequent slide that any supplier who are doing business with us and would like to be a potential supplier for us need to adhere to the same. Also, if we have any concerns, there are various platforms within Airbus, not only for internal but also for external, to address any, in case of any concerns they face across. Also, we have more than 150 full-time employees within Airbus to reinforce and to sustain our compliance processes. It is at the core. Now, here you would like to see that 80% of our business is outsourced, be it flying part procurement or the general procurement side. On the bottom right, on the bottom left, you can see the several commodities has been grouped, which is referred as flying parts, and on the right you can see that we have non-flying parts, which is managed by general procurement. Today during the presentation, my emphasis is going to be more on the flying procurement side. As I was talking a bit ago, that code of conduct is something important for us, and there in the link you can find the details. I encourage you to go and have a look at it and to prepare yourself before you start to do business with Airbus. how do we come to know about your capabilities? So we have a platform defined as eProc, where you have the opportunity to go and register yourself, talk about your capabilities, and then explain us what value proposition you bring to Airbus. We come across several challenges. In the pandemic, we came across disruptions of the supply chain, and we look for new avenues across the globe in order to address those challenges. I'm glad to share that during the pandemic time, there was no disruption from India's supply chain. We were on time, on quality, and thanks to the government flexibility as well, to the industries where it was able to secure the same for Airbus. This is a glimpse of investment of Airbus to our supply chain. Of course, it is a long process, but where I would like you to draw your attention is on the first portion of qualification. While we source, we need to understand the amount of risk we carry within our supply chain, the amount of investment we need to do in order to qualify you. As you already heard, qualification is a significant investment from our side. It cannot happen that we ready you and we come to qualify and we fail there, because we lose on time. The industrialization lead time today is the key in the competitive market. And therefore, you'll see in subsequent slide where I would like to emphasize how you can work proactively in order to secure the expectations of our OEMs. Now, procurement operations, where I come from, is the interface between Airbus and the wider supply chain. Our mission is to be on time and on quality, and this is only possible by having the same attitude and delivery performance from our supply chain. It is a non-negotiable zone like safety and code of conduct. This is a glimpse of the highly capable team within the Airbus, which is spread across the globe, and these competencies help you, support you in order to achieve the expectations of Airbus, and probably can be leveraged by other OEMs as well. Of late, what we have seen that there has been a great sense of decentralization from Europe to other regions, and hence we are being more and more empowered with certain delegations where we have the liberty to exercise within the region. When I am talking about the qualification process, I do not need to be dependent on Europe to bring the resources to qualify you. I can do it locally. And this has been very much instrumental in reducing the industrialization lead time, which is key for us. Today, in such a business context, we do not have the liberty to experiment and then come up to the expectation and then be on time and quality. No, we need to be fast and very agile. On this slide, you will notice supplier capability. Each one of you are able to bring significant capability to Airbus, Boeing, or any other OEMs. But what is the differentiating factor? And how do we know how much risk we will carry when we come to you? And for that, we have a universal methodology, which is very uniform across the globe with no difference of, I would say, it doesn't bring a difference whether it is being done by European, American, or Indian. It is a set standards. The first one, which is IPCA+, it is Industrial Process Control Assessment, and there are few people in the room I can see had some experience. Still, the full scope has to be done. Now, it looks just like an assessment, but it is not the case. It is an opportunity for us to get into your supply chain much deeper, to understand the level of risk, what we are going to share mutually. It is quite obvious to have the risk in the business, but how proactively we are able to embrace that and how we are able to deal with it is what we are looking. Likewise, of late we have seen Indian aerospace ecosystem has been able to create significant capacity, and that is what we look for. It is not possible to come and ask you to create capacity. Getting the machines to industrialize that, it takes time. So the proactive measures from our supply chain is the key to that. And we get engaged with our supply chain to continuously assess, to give them the knowledge what we are looking in time to come. It is not the last minute where we are going to come to you and ask for the same. It is not possible. Already I spoke about special process, but as the name suggests, it is really special. And in terms of industrialization lead time, it is the key. It is equally a great investment from your side. Some of you must be coming from automotive background where things happen quite quickly. Here it is not the case. Therefore, we want you to pay a detailed attention when this topic has to be addressed. Moreover, it is no more a situation where you need to be doing it by yourself. We have created of late an ecosystem or contributed to the existing ecosystem where people are qualified the business to do for you. And there you can leverage. And this vertical integration approach is going to be very instrumental in securing more and more business to India. We have great examples. We have certain ecosystem where the parts are traveling less than 500 meters. It is not possible, or at least I have not come across any platform or ecosystem across the globe. We have it in India. Likewise, we have new solutions being shared with us while they propose for new businesses where they are able to leverage the local ecosystem. They are partnering between the companies and to leverage on their core capabilities. It is not necessarily to have all the things under your basket. Probably, in my view, it is not sustainable. This topic is linked to the assessment part, what I spoke about, and it creates a lot of buzz when we talk about within the existing supply chain because it's the iteration of exercise we do. It demands a great investment from Airbus. It is not only a transactional business, but it is to impart the expectation within the supply chain and to work with them. We have every year our strategic reviews. We design our supply chain based on our strategy and the needs and the challenges being faced. And based on that, we locally develop the same for our region. Every year, we have a different cycle of such strategic roadmap with our suppliers in India. It demands investment. It demands resources. Certain capacity of the team goes into working and educating the suppliers. When I say educating, it doesn't mean that they do not know it. It's about continuous improvement. And therefore, we need to be very careful when we talk about industrial maturity because it is not about a person, but about the system and processes within your supply chain. And what simply it means that you are able to be autonomous, you are able to be on time and on quality, and the system and processes takes care of it. Most of the time it feels very basic and simple, but let me tell you, when we talk about competitive landscape at the global level, it is not the case. And there, before getting some focus from the OEMs, I would urge you to have a specific focus on this topic, and for any support, you can reach out. It may take some time for us to come back to you because of the priorities and the limited capacity what we have, but at least we can guide you, we can coach you and give you some information where it will be instrumental for you to focus on. This part is something not to have it in the normal business, but it is inevitable. Things doesn't go nice all the time. Pandemic has been the example for it. But we need to be agile, we need to be quick to understand the challenges and work together. There, Airbus also, it's not on the demanding side, but we go on site, we work with them in order to support and restore the supplier performance. The objective is mutual. It's a win-win value proposition what we want to create. And ultimately, what we expect from the supply chain, which is existing today, and the potential suppliers are that we need to be more proactive, we need to be able to identify the risk well in advance and have the solution around it. And this really helps us to develop and reinforce the message to the wider community on our capabilities of India. We need to sustain the performance, and that's something again non-negotiable for us. Now, C295 program had been in the news for a while now, but here what I want to share with you and could be relevant for you is that this program demands more than 14,000 parts. Out of that, in time to come, 13,000 parts has to be made in India. What does it mean to you? is that you have a role to play, you have opportunities ahead of you. This also allows us to get into the territory where we have not been explored so far. In the commercial business side, it is not the case where we are able to deal with higher complex parts. In this case, by force measure, we'll have to build the capability around that. And once we have that, this sets the foundation and it removes the boundaries to deal with other complexities on the civil aviation program. And that's where you have a huge role to play. It is going to create more than 15,000 highly skilled jobs. And this is what the Indian ecosystem needs today. Already it has been reinforced by our colleagues. Likewise, it is going to lead to indirect jobs, which is more than 10,000 in numbers. And this all is going to significantly contribute to the commitment of growing capabilities within the region. We are going to have a final assembly line. It is not for civil, but it is for defense, and this itself is a great milestone. The quality of the aircraft is going to be at the same level what we have it in Spain, and it only creates more and more opportunities for all of us. Now, I want to share my thoughts under my capacity on the challenges which the business is being faced, and I'm sure it is being experienced by either Boeing or other OEMs. Pandemic recovery has been quite fast. It is much faster, especially in the context of India, than it was anticipated earlier. That means that we expect from our supply chain to ramp up in a much faster way. That means we need to be having more capacity and more capability. Further, it was complemented with geopolitical context, which only led to disruption in the supply chain. But I'm glad to share, except some topics concerning raw material availability in the region, there has been no concerns from the manufacturing process. As we were talking about supplier performance, it has been tremendous from the region. There are players from the region who have sustained 100% on-time delivery more than 2 years in a row, and days are counting. And likewise, we have suppliers more than 99.5% from the region on all the programs. Raw material is something which is a huge opportunity rather than a challenge in my point of view. Why? Today, the supply chain is designed in such a way that we need to source the raw material to the region, and then we need to do the value addition, and then we need to ship it back. And that calls for a limitation. Today, it is not possible from a sustainability point of view to source large dimensions raw material to India. And in my view, the solution is to have the opportunity and the capability within the region to have the raw materials, such as steel, titanium, aluminum. These are the key ones which has been troubling, and still the challenge is ongoing. And therefore, it would be interesting to know and to understand what are the possibilities can be done within the region. For that, we have already started some research, and we have found that there are sources. But again, it becomes a chicken and egg story that whether the business will come first or we'll have the sources first. But that need to be well supported by the government also, in my view, and we can leverage the same. Now, India is known for its cost competitiveness, and over last years, we have significant creation in terms of capacity. We have proven with our performance on the capability. But further, the expectation from the supply chain is to have an integrated solution. There we are looking for a solution to our legacy program, specifically on engineering and manufacturing engineering capabilities. Now, this whole, when get complemented with digitalized solution, digitalized shop floor, it really brings us more and more competitiveness at the global level. That's something we always encourage our supply chain to develop and invest their time on all the aspects of the business. Again, my point of view is that if somebody's score is not this, we would encourage them to find a partner within the region, and India is known for that. Now, I would like to end the presentation with a small video. which will give you a glimpse that on one side we are not only demanding, but we take the opportunity to acknowledge, appreciate the contribution made by the partners. This video talks about 2022 contracts which are being won by various players in the region. It also tells you that how they have been performing and how do we take the efforts in order to encourage them.
I'm very pleased to welcome you tonight for a new event that we have decided to organize.
A large share of the success can be attributed to the aerospace ecosystem of the country, which is nothing but all of you together here today.
100% on-time deliveries, very low level of non-qualities, so really demonstrating, all the capabilities. Now I wish you continuing a nice evening, and I think we are going to have the opportunity to have dinner all together. Thanks for having joined us tonight.
Still feel that we have not yet tapped the potential of India, and we count on you for next year in the same avenues or new ones that we could open.
Thank you. I'm open for any questions. Okay, I can consider my presentation was self-explanatory. So please, yes, we have one question. Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now? How many orders you have taken from Government of India or any Indian commercial partner, aviation partner for Airbus from India?
Question to please introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Puneet Goel. I'm head of Shanam Industries, Defense and Aerospace Company, Gwalior. So we deal in armaments mainly. And I'm just wanted to explore the aerospace business too. So I'm here. So I just wanted to know how much orders of Airbus are from India and how many planes they are going to deliver and what part of that your source will be India, from India. The part where you manufacture the plane, how much of that percentage would be procured from India?
Well, I think it would be more interesting for you that what capability you bring to us. It's not about numbers today. There is no limitation in terms of number that this much of a volume need to be sourced from the specific region. It is not the case. That's not the strategy we follow. We have a significant sourcing from India today, and it is growing day by day. What would be interesting for you is to bring us the value and the capability and link it with the challenge which are being faced today by Airbus.
So I want to ask one thing. Since India doesn't have so much capabilities in, building these parts and all, so are you ready to give us some, technological designs and all stuff, so we can build it in India?
Well, to your question, to the first part, I do not agree that we do not have the capability. We certainly have great capabilities. We have seen in some of the slides the great works which are being done. I know by myself that our supply chain is very robust, and we are dealing already with great complexities. We are talking about new work packages coming to the region. We are that are very complex in nature. So capability part is not a concern today. We need to have the solution which is going to contribute to the growth of Airbus. That's very simple. And if you are able to bring that differentiating factor to us, we are open to meet you, to invest our time, to engage with you, and even to contribute to your development journey. If you saw my slides, the middle portion where I was talking about industrial maturity, that's the place where we proactively engaged with our potential supply chain as well. It's not only limited to the strategic suppliers in the region. So if you are able to bring that differentiating factor to us, we'll be very much interested to work with you, to engage with you, and impart the knowledge and the expectation of Airbus. We have a question here, yeah.
So, my name is Tomar. I'm from MRO Association. What I want to say, you said that yes, I mean, machine capability we have in country, but if there is a constraint on raw material. So is there been an attempt by Airbus and Boeing together, because now both of you are here, to be with the industry which produces this metals, whether it's aluminum alloys, whether it's steels and this thing. So as a part of that exercise, has there been engagement with those big players which has aluminum plants and steel plants to provide and to try to develop those special products here that can work as a raw material for the rest of the next group of people who do machining and then supply parts to you?
Oh, thank you. It's an interesting question. Well, today it's again not a concern about the capability because it is an unknown territory. Before pandemic, the business case itself was not there because of the volume. So as Airbus, if we go with a certain set of volume, it may not be a value proposition for the foundry houses to invest in building this capacity. But after the pandemic and the geopolitical context, it is quite evident that we need to have alternate sources and to reduce the dependency on specific regions. And that's where the business is coming to India. We heard about significant contracts coming from other OEMs. I believe that if all combined together, now it is going to make a business. This is one on the economies of scale side. The other aspect is the qualification, which is very stringent and it is highly time consuming, and Airbus or any other OEM need to invest huge amount of time. And therefore, we need to reach a certain level of maturity of this business case in order to get engaged on those parameters. But believe me, we are spending significant time within Airbus. We are doing some research and also getting in touch with the houses which are already engaged, say for example raw material for automobiles and other sectors, and to work with them to have some value proposition in this regard. This is going to be a game changer. I'm fully convinced about it. This removes the limitation to a certain capability with we are engaged today. For example, if we go talk about the work packages, today India, from Airbus point of view, we do not consider to be cost competitive when it comes to larger dimension parts. And that, if it gets addressed through the sources in India, it will be bringing us at par to the global competitive landscape.
I can add a couple of things. Basically, raw material has been quite a big challenge for Boeing as well. This is because of the Russia-Ukraine situation where we have scarcity of raw materials. And apart from that, what Boeing is trying to do is there's already billets which is being supplied from India, which is being qualified. And we are also working now closely with the suppliers to qualify even the aluminum extrusions. So this is one area where we are engaging with suppliers and see that, okay, wherever we have a critical shortages, we try to fix that gap.
And I fully agree with Murli that it needs a combined effort, and not only from the OEM perspective, but here a wider industry can put a collective effort in order to grow this side of the business. It will only create opportunities, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it is. I'm Prabha from Tyson Group Aerospace. Just to answer Thomas's question, yes, we are engaged with Airbus, as you are aware. We are doing that research on behalf of Airbus. So reaching out to the sources, the local mills especially on the steel and the hard metal side, we are facing critical problems, right? And as a first phase, we have collected enough amount of data. That's what's needed. And it's just not for Indian usage, but it's also for probably a potential export from India as well.
Yes.
It's just to add.
And this is a challenge which is being faced by all the aerospace companies. It is sad that today our supply chain is under stress, not because of their capability and capacity, but because of the shortage of the raw material. And this problem needs to be addressed. If no more question, then thank you. I do not want to be standing in between me and you and the lunch. So, okay, thank you.
Now we have the Honorable Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Department of Industrial Policy and Investment Promotion, Shri Rajvardhan Singh ji. He's been there, and he would, I would request him to please do give us a message for the industry. Please, sir.
Good morning. Well, it's nearly about afternoon now. So I think first of all I want to thank every one of you, each and every one of you who's been here. Some of you have left. I think yesterday we've had some very, very, very esteemed and very knowledgeable people imparting us some of what is happening currently in the industry. So on the second day and the concluding day, and I think I'm the last speaker now, after which I think probably CI will thank everyone. So on behalf of my Chief Minister and the entire state of Madhya Pradesh, we are about 8.5 CR people now here in the state. I thank all of you, each and every one of you, to have been here and shared with us so much. Specifically today on the dais, the ones who are present along with me, Mr. B.B. Murali, Senior Manager, Supply Chain Management, Boeing. Then Mr. G. Shyamnath, Chief Designer HAL, who shared with us a lot of what they are doing. Following him, Mr. Partha P. Roy Chaudhary, Commercial Lead, Lockheed & Martin. He, just before I walked on to speak, gave me a very interesting insight and input, whereby he said that why don't we better utilize the potential of the defense cargo aircrafts which fly any which way to various parts of our country, especially the northeast, and they are not always utilized to the optimum potential of what they could carry. So he was saying that if we can have some of the civil cargo coming into those to have the maximum load factor, say that's a policy matter, but yeah, thank you for that, and I'll pass it on to the Honorable Minister and the Defence Minister and Government of India. He also gave a very interesting suggestion whereby he said that we are looking in a major way at religious tourism. With the government looking at the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, we ourselves are looking at Mahakal and the Char Dham, a lot of other places that we can't really reach in the time that we ideally would like to. For example, if I'm flying from here to Delhi, then what? How do I know how I reach Kedarnath or Amarnath, any which way? So that's when he said that we should have something where we fill in the gap, and like we do online booking of aircrafts, we should also be able to book the chopper here on and then reach. So that would give additional business to not only the manufacturers, but an opportunity for entrepreneurs to step in. That's a very, very valuable suggestion. Thank you again. Besides everything else that he told us about the company and the opportunities that are here, Mr. Gaurav Gautam, Head of Procurement Operations, Supply Airbus South Asia. Now, he mentioned the backlog, and he said that we are happy to have that backlog. Well, I would request all of you that that backlog, the clearance sale should be cleared by this country, this house, all the people here and all the entrepreneurs who are willing to be part of the supply chain. We would be so glad to be doing that. And why are we number 5 in the world? Why are we not aspiring? We are aspiring to be number 1. And as our Prime Minister has been telling us time and again, that we should be vocal for local, and our local should be good enough and is good enough to be global. And as he repeatedly keeps telling us politically, and otherwise whenever he talks, and the Mool mantra that he's given us as we endeavor to work in all the fields wherever we can, and whatever capacity and responsibility at any given time that we are given. And we say, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, and the most importantly, Sabka Prayas. And I think that's where a lot of you come into the picture. And I hope that everything the Minister for Civil Aviation, Mr. Scindia, has tried to do by this event would be much appreciated, and in times to come we shall get results for the same. I would also like to thank a lot of everybody actually who imparted us with knowledge and spoke with us, starting with Mr. Salil Gupte. I think he's left. I did meet him briefly in the morning. Yeah, he's left. President Boeing, Mr. Vikram Rai, is he here? Oh, no, he's left too. Mr. Vikram Rai, Chief Executive Officer, South Asia G Aerospace. Mr. Amit Datta, I think he's left as well. Mr. Amit Datta, Chairman, CI Taskforce, Short-Haul Air Mobility. Then Mr. S.K. Jha, again, Chairman, Managing Director, Medhani. Mr. Suraj Chetri, Mr. Samit Ray, Shri Piyush Srivastav, Senior Economic Advisor, Ministry of Civil Aviation, who imparted a lot of knowledge on what we could do, what the government was doing. Mr. Bharat Malkani, yes, he's here, I did see him. He asked a question also, or is he left too? Yes, sir. Yeah, how can we miss you? What a moderation for that session. Thank you so much. I think we should all applause for him once. And how many, I'm sure a lot of you heard him yesterday. Mr. Sharad Agrawal, yes, you're right there, right in the middle. Sharad Agrawal, Chief Executive Officer, Air India Engineering Services Limited. Mr. Anand Bhaskar, I think he's left too. I think he did tell us a lot about MROs, and I would share some of the suggestions before I go on to pitching for my state investment. Mr. Arun Kashyap, Chief Operating Officer, SpiceJet, I think he's left us as well. He gave us his valuable inputs as well. Shishira Das from Air India, I think he is not here as well. He told us how we could pick up from the Middle East and what are the issues with the setting up of the MROs. Dr. Kalappa Paradda, Director Boeing Research, I think he's also left us. I want to thank him as well. Rajendra Singh Bhatia, again, a very good session he moderated, and he told us a lot. It was delightful to really hear that the Mercedes has a part from India. Every one of the Mercedes has a part which they manufacture. Udayan Malhotra, Chief Executive Officer, MD Dynamic Technologies, I think he's also left us. I want to thank him as well. Luis Pereira, Partha P. Roy Chaudhary, obviously, I mentioned you and you here. and Mr. Ganesh Raghavan, and Shweskar Chaudhary. Lastly, I think he is not here. He's here? He's left. Because he is the president for CII here locally in Madhya Pradesh. And of course, now I would just briefly take a little bit of your time, because I think I have about 15 minutes to speak and then finish. I've taken 5 already. Some of the points that I noted down while everybody was addressing us. Today, to start with, one of the interesting things that I was noticing in the presentation that you were giving, everybody, but this is important for us socially, politically, and as a society, if everybody has to contribute. HL did mention, and I noticed here, and this, if everybody else outside this house is also getting this communication, I would like to stress it and reach out to them that the HL does offer an opportunity to SC, ST, women, MSMEs, and the startups as well, without really going too much into the background of the requirements of what they have done earlier. So that's an opportunity I think not everybody is offering, but I think that's one thing that we can, from the ground upwards, have a lot of other people also joining this exclusive club and participating and contributing to the nation's economy and obviously overall better living and growth for everyone. The speakers that spoke earlier, I think Anand Bhaskarji was talking about MROs when he mentioned the very aspect of composite tax, and he stressed on it a number of times. And the structure, we need to look at it, and how the entire structure needs to, especially the import duties and what the government needs to step in and do in terms of doing a complete relook at them to better sustain the industry. He also said that if we don't really do it now, then we are at a risk of losing about a business of $2.5 billion, which would go elsewhere. So that was one of the points that I have noted, and that will go to the Honorable Minister. Mr. Salil Gupta, when he started off initially, he was one of the first speakers who took on as the session started. The minister was there then, but he did talk of decarbonizing the value chain and how internationally it's of utmost importance, and even from environment perspective for the future. So that's again some area that we have an opportunity here. Mr. Das, Air India, mentioned how the ecosystem needs to improve, and how we need to actually look at the Middle East model as to how come they have made it sustainable, and in spite of us in India having much cheaper and available manpower, we are still struggling with it. So yes, I agree that we need to adapt the best practices across the world and need to learn from them and have a better setup here so that we can, everybody can benefit. Mr. Anand Bhaskar again, like I mentioned, he talked of MRO, and he did specifically mention Chapter 88 and what we need to do there. I won't discuss everything, but just dwell on the points that all of you have pointed out, so that need attention. He also talked of reducing the taxes. He gave very fine examples, like he says, 28% bracket. Here it's on glass now, glass, then windshield. Now windshield is a very specialized part. So when you're importing windshield, why should we have such a huge tax on the aircraft? So that needs to be looked at, yes. And he also mentioned paint, another example that he gave, paint. And aviation paint is different from just any normal paint. So I think that's another thing that we need to look at. Then he talked of skill empowerment, training facilities that we need to really go about doing a lot. Jin Wong from the SIA, I thank him also. He's, I think, also left here to go back. How he told us about how the industry is growing. What's the kind of potential that we have when we're talking about value chain? He also pointed out that if existing today, the fleet, the country has about 700 aircrafts. And where are we headed? By 2032, we are looking at having 2,000 aircrafts here. So that's a huge growth that we're looking at, and the huge opportunity that we'll be looking at. Agarwalji, again, you talked about MROs, and you also talked about how most of the old models are going to be phased out very soon. So that's another challenge the MROs are going to be facing. And then you also very rightly mentioned that how it takes about 4 years, anybody who's looking at starting an MRO, until those 4 years, then how do you sustain that facility? What do you do? Because the revenues don't start coming in until then. So that 4-year period is where the government needs to step in and support, and that's when we will actually be able to succeed in whatever we are talking of setting up these MROs and having them here. The other pointers, Mr. Arun Kashyap, SpiceJet. He did again mention IGST, the duty bracket, the tax 11 to 22%. Again, he wanted some kind of relief on that part. Then he again told us about the kind of business there is, a 1.2 billion, and how the infra needs to be improved if we are to move ahead in the sector. Mr. Bothra, GMR, mentioned again the same thing, the 4 to 5 years time that the MROs are going to be taking. And he also mentioned the certification and the simplification of a lot of the processes in the government that takes so much of your time, and how people actually lose business because of that. Tulsi Manchandani, obviously we all heard her, very inspiring, what they're doing, how the times have changed, and what all we need to do here. The basic needs within Malhotra. He mentioned a very interesting point. He said that why do we look at whatever skill that is coming to us from even the rural part of India, various the south or the north, like he mentioned, the children that were learning and coming up and doing a fantastic job. And he said they're artisans, and there's artists in their own right. And we need to look at those sectors and those places a little better and have some kind of a support in the policy. So just can, obviously he talked of doing away with a lot of unnecessary labor laws as well. So that's another part that we need to really focus and look at. Lockheed Martin, we've again heard you talk a lot about that, so I will not go and repeat all of that. You also mentioned about policy changes. Hand-holding, that's one part that you mentioned. How from 2017 to 2020 there was a decision pending, and because of that, how some business was lost. Yes, that is something we need to look at. Ganesh Raghavanji, Tata Boeing, he mentioned again the global scenario. He also asked for capex subsidy, because he said there's a high amount of money that goes into the industry and what need to do. I did answer a question yesterday regarding the same, whereby when somebody asked, so we said yes, we need to have PLI supporting it. We in Madhya Pradesh have about a 40% provision on subsidy that we give off on whatever you invest when we go to CCIP. We also talked about interest subvention that you're looking at. And there are other number of other points here, but I would reiterate what the Honorable Minister said when he was giving his address yesterday, for those who weren't present here and are with us today, and how he told us how the government has changed in its outlook and the way it works, and how proactive they have got, and how our Honorable Prime Minister's vision has helped us to progress. He mentioned how we were at, there was a figure of 74 airports, and we are at 148, and in the next 3 to 5 years we are looking at going to 300 plus. That itself will give you an idea of the kind of infrastructure that our country is developing at the pace we are going about it. He also mentioned how quickly the Gwalior airport is going to be starting up in a record time of 15 months, and I think that goes, that says a lot about how our government is committed to this cause and this sector in times to come. He also mentioned about what kind of growth we're looking at, where we can actually reach, and he also mentioned the figures of what the aviation sector, the aircrafts are carrying. If you're looking at a 14.2 and where we could grow in times to come, we would definitely take over the railways. So there was a lot of other things that were discussed. I will not go into everything. And yes, we did talk of EV tolls as well and how we need to have those charging stations and points in place. He has given this task to me and gone that we need to look at that in Madhya Pradesh and have that in place. He also, when he left, talked about when we mentioned MRO initially, he said that we have two airports, Bhopal and Indore, where we have international flights and where there are overnight facilities and where we could give you land additionally. Gwalior also, because it has proximity to Delhi, where you have an opportunity to work so basically this after these 2 days of hearing everybody and listening to everything that everybody had to say, I hope that all of you who have participated in this session, this 2-day session, goes back much richer in terms of what they have imbibed from the people, the experts, the leaders of the industry who came and spared their valuable time. And you will definitely benefit from this. Everybody who's participated here, especially today, I thank all of you to have educated us and to have told your future partners. I don't know whether the engagement has already happened mentally, when you're going to actually sit on a MOU or some kind of agreement. And I'm sure this engagement will result in a fruitful marriage which will last forever, happily ever after. Not only I wish you all the best in that endeavor, the minister himself has said he wishes you all the very best. A little bit I will take the last few minutes of your time because that's my job and duty, which I've been delegated from the Chief Minister to again make one more pitch to all of you that we are in the heartland of the nation. Madhya Pradesh is a land which has done much to create an ecosystem, to be investor friendly. We have worked a lot on our manpower. We do have a certain amount of industry-ready manpower. Yes, as far as the skill part was mentioned by a number of speakers over different sessions, there are schemes we already have, be it the central-sponsored Skill India program that gives you incentives to skill manpower or already semi-skilled manpower coming to you. As a state too, we in Madhya Pradesh are giving incentives on that, so you can take advantage of that. I've already mentioned yesterday the kind of infra we already have. We have over 3 lakh kilometers of roads here. We are the heartland. We've got 50% of the market in and around the state. Within 24 hours, you can be anywhere in the country from Madhya Pradesh. We also have the national corridor passing right through our state. That means 6 hours you can get to Mumbai, 6 hours you can get to Delhi. Well, that is phenomenal. I thank Mr. Nitin Gadkari for doing that for us. Besides that, we're looking at both the ends, this Chambal, this area, Gwalior Chambal. I think a lot of you, when you were growing up, you must have seen these Hindi movies where you heard of Pan Singh Tomar or Daku Man Singh, XYZ, and people are scared. The moment you heard Chambal, you thought of some dacoit riding a horse and maybe trying to loot you or something. Today, the Chambal is not known for that. We don't have any more dacoits. We don't have any more of that hostility. Today, we are known for Atal Progress Way. We're making a Chambal Progress Way. We're going to have industrial nodes on different junctions here. We are progressing at the same time on the other part, which is the western part which connects Gujarat. We making a Narmada Express with the entire Narmada stretch. We are having it connected to Gujarat, and we're developing industrial nodes there as well. We are a power surplus state, as I mentioned yesterday. Not only that, not only do we have 28,000 megawatt producing here, out of that 22% is renewable energy. We are feeding the Delhi Metro as well. Like I mentioned yesterday, for those who are here today, we've also come up with this scheme whereby we have put this act in place in the Assembly of the state, which provides exemption from obtaining specified approvals and their related inspections for establishing and operationalizing an industrial unit in this state. The exemption is for the period of 3 years. We have notified different industrial areas for that. There are about 296 industrial areas. Part of them are MPIDC, some MSME, which have already put this in action. I mentioned to you the airstrips that we have. We have got a number of airstrips. We've got 100 plus flights operating out of here. Those airstrips have ample lands available for anybody who wants to set up a training facility, who wants to set up like a little MRO to service the smaller aircraft, who also wants to probably looking at manufacturing prototypes like Hansa, any like Cessna, the smaller ones, because like somebody rightly mentioned yesterday, so many aircrafts coming in, private players, other people stepping, and we need those pilots too. So that is again an opportunity. So it's an open field. It's all there for you. The Chief Minister has specifically said that we are going to be working. Whatever you suggested, we're going to make them part of our policy as well. We are working on a new policy as we talk, and we are very soon going to be releasing it. Besides whatever we give in the policy, I'm again stressing this out, we have a CCIP, a special committee headed by the Chief Minister and a group of ministers that will over and above the policy match to the best there is in the country, or maybe better it for whatever you need to establish a new enterprise, a new industry related to this specific sector. So all the players, I know, I understand. A lot of you might already be established in some part of the country or the other, like I talked to a few days ago. We are in Pune, or we also, there were a lot of people who were there too. I'll give an example of Volvo Aisha. Practically the entire Volvo Aisha is now in Madhya Pradesh. We gave them whatever they needed. John Deere. Again, everybody's heard of John Deere, or a lot of Mahindras, a lot of Force Motors. There are a lot of automobile people who are already here. And I will also tell you, we have the largest auto testing track in Asia here in Pithampur. The Japanese have built it, state of the art. The fourth largest in the world. It's tremendous. I'm trying to tell you this, we already have that culture, the ecosystem here. A lot of automakers are already here. They're doing a lot of good work here. So it's not that you will not get skilled manpower. Like I mentioned yesterday, we had a GIS in Indore, very successful from the point of view of Madhya Pradesh, what we've had in the past, about 15.5 lakh crores intention to invest committed. Out of that, we've already translated over 2 lakh crores that are going to be coming on ground. That's nearly 15 to 20%. National average is 10% translating from any GIS or any investor summit that happens in any part of the country. So this I'm telling you that we are committed and we are moving in that direction. Now, specifically for anybody who wants to come in, he wants his clearances fast, like everybody said. So we have this 30-day clearances system. We also moved towards the deemed permission. We've also told the departments that in the specific time, if you do not give permissions to people who want to invest here, we'll consider it done. So this is this time-specific system that we're trying to put in place. How may I help you? Like I mentioned yesterday, is a section that we put on blog on our site in MPIDC, where you can directly go on and address your grievances. Like I said yesterday, the Chief Minister is every Monday ready to meet all of you whenever you want to have a word with him. Now, we are committed to making this MRO hub. We also have this opportunity because the Civil Aviation Minister happens to be from our state, and I don't need to tell you, he's not the typical politician. He's a Stanford graduate. He understands finance very well. He knows what accounting is. He knows what forward-backward integration is. He knows where the market is headed. He knows where the raw material comes from. He knows where the resource base is. He knows where the skill set is required and where to get it from. He knows what you need and he has the global perspective. And he's willing to go the last mile. Like he said himself, I don't think ever any minister would have said that to you starting the session. He said, I am your man to go to. Now, applause for him, I think, at least that much. And the Prime Minister himself is very, very, very clear about what he wants in this country. And I don't need to tell you what he's done in the past years that he's been in office. 2014 he took over. And now he heads for his third election, or his third term when the elections come in another 6 months. Well, a lot has been done, and he's not sitting down and resting yet. As they say, in a language we say in Sang, Cheriveti, that means you don't rest. I mean, I will not repeat, there are miles to go before I sleep, there are promises to keep. So, I can say for him, for both of them, जब से चला हूँ मेरी मंजिल पे नजर है मैंने कभी मील का पत्थर नहीं देखा. For the people who don't understand Hindi so well, the translation is that I have never rested. My eyes are set on the milestone, and I constantly keep doing the journey forward with a clear objective of what I need to achieve. So it's a constant endeavor that our leadership is making, all the efforts, being proactive, trying to do what needs to be done. I would again, on the behalf of my entire state, my Chief Minister, my department, thank all of you, each and every one of you. CII, thank you so much. Like rightly said, well, this was a difficult task to have all of you together, all competitors as friends, imparting knowledge. ज्ञान तो बांटने से बढ़ता ही है, कभी घटा नहीं है. It always, the knowledge, the more you distribute, it increases. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for telling us everything about the industry. Thank you so much for coming here. Today we talked about the value chain. I hope that this has been fruitful and this will be helpful. I thank all of you once again, and I wish all of you the very, very best from Madhya Pradesh and the department. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mantriji. Robert Watt's lines of miles to go before we sleep. So this is the end of the conference, but we still have miles to go. So, and I don't mean it literally, I mean it figuratively. I understand a lot of people have flights and trains to catch tonight and evening. And I thank you all for joining us here in Gwalior. It was a very different kind of an experience for CII also to get all the global participation. And I thank all the partners here who supported us in getting not just in terms of putting up the conference and supporting us financially, but also helping us get the delegates to this wonderful venue, to this wonderful city. Once again, it has been an encouraging experience to have Honorable Minister with us, Mr. Rajvardhan Singh Ji, yesterday and today. I also thank all the panelists here and the delegates for being part of this throughout and enriching the discussions. Also, we would like to ask you to carry on the good connections you have built here and discussions you have had here to a fruitful conclusion. Best wishes and have a safe travel. I would like you to join us for lunch outside. Just request the panelist for a photograph. Photograph, please.
Thank you, sir.
रिपीट वीडियो कर देना, अरे रिपीट वीडियो कर देना।